Welcome to the Rec Wrap. I'm your host, Larissa Lownsdale. Usually we're discussing fitness and exercise, but today we're going to dig into the park side of the department. With me today, I have Randy Vogel to tell us a little bit about the Greenspace Initiative that we have here in the village. Randy, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what the Greenspace Initiative is and why it's so important?
Sure. Again, I'm Randy Vogel. I'm a retired ecologist, actually. And that's probably an oxymoron because I don't think ecologists ever really retire. We're one of these lucky people where our interest and our hobby actually met with my profession. But the Greenspace Initiative came about probably back in 2023. And when I moved here, it was one of the things that attracted my wife and I to the village was the amount of green space. Cooper Communities did us a great service when they developed Tellico Village because they programmed in green space. So many developers come in and the first thing they do is clear the land and mass grade and take all the trees. That didn't happen here. So we have this fantastic amenity. There's over 300 acres of green space in Tellico Village, and there's over 35 miles of trails traversing that green space. So because it's such a valuable amenity, we decided to launch the Greenspace Initiative. And that's basically to preserve, protect, and restore the green space that we have here in the village.
Okay, great. And so with the Greenspace Initiative, you have the Wild Bunch. Tell us a little bit about the group of volunteers called the Wild Bunch and how you've established them.
Yeah, the Wild Bunch was set up as a group of volunteers to help with the management of the green space here in the village. Because of human intervention, even though we have this green space, it still needs help. Because there's lots of things that happen when you start building in and around the forest land and other open areas. You actually change the runoff that goes into these areas. You start introducing invasive species. Cattle grazed a lot of the forests here, so the wildflowers were really depleted from that grazing activity. So the Wild Bunch was formed to start working on the green space. Our first effort was to plant wildflowers. We're planting wildflowers all along the trails in the village because that's going to be the place where they're most noticeable.
That is fantastic. I've seen some of those on the trails. So sometimes people will notice you have red or pink flags along the trails. What are those for?
Thank you for asking that, because what we do is when we establish a specific planting spot, and I pick the planting spots based on the species of plants that we're going to be planting, so the conditions will be best for their survival. We mark those spots with flags so that we can monitor them and that we can also do some follow-up watering. So when you see those flags, you know the Wild Bunch has been there. And I would ask people, please do not pull the flags. They're out there for a reason. They aren't just something that somebody randomly put in the forest.
Well, that's nice to know, not to touch those flags. What other things do you envision for the future regarding the Greenspace Initiative?
Well, because as I said, it's to preserve, protect, and restore. So we definitely need to be thinking about long-term preservation of this green space. As I mentioned, we do need to manage it because just like any other amenity that you might have, whether it's a building or something else, it can fall into disrepair and things can begin to get bad and not provide the value that it provides currently. There's so many values associated with the green space, so we want to make sure that we take care of things like invasive species. Invasive species are starting to invade some of the forests, and when that happens, it shades out the ground cover, which allows erosion. And the green space in Tellico Village and in surrounding areas is the single biggest factor contributing to the quality of Tellico Lake. It actually protects that water quality. So we'll begin doing invasive species work in the forest. There are also some areas in Tellico Village where the green space is not forested. There are areas where it's maybe old pastures or areas that are being mowed but aren't really being used but are part of the green space. So we envision doing some meadow restoration too, where we'll establish native meadows that will provide a lot of great habitat for birds, insects, pollinators, and provide additional beauty because it will have grasses and wildflowers in it also.
That's fantastic. That sounds like a lot of work too. So if someone would like to become a Wild Bunch and help with volunteering, how would they go about doing that?
Well, there's a brand new web page that's being established called tellicotrails.org. And currently it talks about the trail building effort, which is ongoing in the village. Gary Mulliner and his Kahiti chain gang continue to work on trails, maintain trails. We're going to be adding a segment on the Wild Bunch on there also. And through that website, you'll be able to volunteer either for the chain gang or the Wild Bunch or both. So again, it's tellicotrails.org.
That is fantastic. Randy, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for tuning in to the Rec Wrap, a Tellico Village Network presentation.